I'm Carole Taylor. On this edition of Journal, we examine the issue of retail crime and street disorder and how they're changing the cities that we live in. Last year, Caren McSherry, owner of the Gourmet Warehouse on East Hastings, told her story of how retail crime and intimidation is making her reconsider her business after more than 20 years. Broken windows that she has to pay for, open theft where three big guys just come in and take three very expensive juicers from the shelves, drugs and disorder on the street, even staff intimidation by one man who came in wearing a garbage bag and then stripped. Is it worth it? Another recent headline featured the owner of the Aura Nightclub on Granville Street, Allan Goodall, and he was talking about how his business has been affected by the move to replace the Howard Johnson Hotel above him with supportive housing in 2020. Since that time, there have been more than 900 calls to the fire department, and police say they've received thousands of calls. So, closed business for costly repairs repeatedly, and the intimidation of customers who just really don't feel safe coming into the area. How long can he keep going? So many small businesses have given up. Just look at the boarded up for lease signs. John Clerides is the owner of Marquis wine cellars on Davie Street. Even though he's not in the direct hit of the downtown east side, his business is also suffering from disorder on the street, vandalism, shoplifting, and his worry is that this is not just hurting his business. The long-term danger is that people are discouraged from coming downtown at all. He says when a street dies, a city dies. We meet John Clerides after this break. John Clerides joins us now. Welcome. Glad to have you here. It's not the nicest story when we're talking about retail crime. It's really affected your business, has it?
It's affected us a little bit, yeah. It affects everybody, and I'm here to hopefully speak on behalf of everybody, not just my store.
People don't really assume that retail crime affects everybody.
Absolutely,
it's not just the business.
No, it affects everybody. It affects prices, affects the ability to stay in business, to hire extra people. It's one of those hidden taxes. But the way government or the politicians perceive it, it's a very low, it's low threshold of crime. It's kind of no offense, kind of like jaywalking. And that's not correct. You have a small retailer, probably has a family, they want to go on vacation, improve their home, improve their business, update, correct things in their business, and they can't do it because they paid for inventory they haven't sold. It's been stolen, so they have to recoup it somewhere, and it's usually in higher prices.
You were doing an interview recently, and it was really a coincidence, but with Stuart McNish.
Right.
And we have a clip to show you because it gives everyone a taste of what you're dealing with all the time.
Correct.
Let's have a look.
Hey, Anna, sorry, I'm just in an interview.
Okay, call me when you have a moment.
Yeah.
I have an issue in the back.
What's going on in the back?
Someone tried to burn the building again.
Someone tried to burn the building again?
Yeah, the safe place where they burned.
Yeah, okay, let me go out and take a look. Okay, thanks, bye.
But they use, that's fuel for this. That's fuel. Right? So if they have fuel to keep warm, that's what they're using. So that's got to get moved. Either talk to a surgeon and just store it in here. But this has got to be free and clear. And do you have anything on your camera?
Yeah, I should.
So send it to me and I'll talk to Matt, a cop that I know. Text it to me and I'll text it to him.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Neighbor, huh?
It's one of my buildings that we rent.
Now, John, when you see that, is that just a one-off?
No. They've had problems there before. So just to go a little deeper, that fire looked a little innocuous, but it actually was inside, and we had to rip out a big chunk of that storage room. Plus, I believe the door was also damaged, and we had to replace the frame. So it ended up costing me about $5,000. So I just didn't want to go through insurance, because then everything goes up. So it's not a one-off. And then what had happened is that they ended up having to put in a wire fence, a chain link fence to stop people from hanging out there. And I just got a text there the other day. More pallets are being put up against the building, so we have to get the tenants to secure all their pallets, because they use that as fuel or use that as a ladder to get up on the roof, to break in, or to do whatever.
So is this new? I mean, your family's been in businesses in the downtown since the 50s.
Late 50s, yeah. We used to...
Would they have the same stories to tell, or is this something new?
No, it would be the odd dine and dash, stealing beer bottles. I would ask my dad, he's still alive, he's 99, but he's not quite there yet. But, I've been there since 77, and no, it was nothing like that, nothing. It was relatively, you could leave things relatively unlocked or not as secured, and really nothing would happen. But I just call it the last 8 to 10 years here has just been a disaster. I don't even want to know how much I've spent on security. I bet you it's over 100,000.
So can you give me examples of the things you're dealing with?
Anything from people shooting up in the back, leaving needles, leaving garbage, defecation, urination, jumping up on the roof, looking for window breakage, shoplifting, general malaise of the street. Tenant next to me, nice guy, bought the veterinary business, was there. 3 times in 10 days, his front window was broken. And one in particular, clients were sitting in his shop waiting for their animal, I think it was a dog, to come out. And they have a sandwich board. Someone came along and threw it through the plate glass window right where they were sitting. And then he went up to Denny's, and I think he broke a window and broke a car window, and then the police were called.
So I noticed in that clip, you said to the woman next door, you said that if she had tape, you would get it and show it to the police so that they could have some notion of what's going on or perhaps who did it.
Correct.
So how often are you calling the police?
Well, I have good relations with the community police person there, so I just text him the information. We don't call the police, me personally, I don't call the police that often, because in the scheme of things of what's going on downtown, it's a pretty low offense. But I think I had one fellow lying in front of the store, asked him to move. 2-3 hours later, he didn't move, so I had to phone the police. He said he had a broken ankle, and he got up and walked away. But I don't have to call them that often. It's just more the despair and despondence of people and no one doing anything about it. Then they move on to the next level of just being an annoyance for the street and the merchants.
I've talked to certainly a couple of business people who say, no, we don't call the police, because by the time they get here, and the police are doing their job, but by the time they get here, this guy is gone.
He's gone.
And so it worries me when people say, well, the statistics show crime is down. But in part, it's because we're not reporting everything.
Correct. They know nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. The government, whether it's provincial or federal, it's falling on deaf ears. It's going in 1 year, then a Venturi, it speeds up, and then shoots out faster on the other side. They just don't listen, and they don't want to listen. It's willful, as Sam Cooper says, it's willful blindness.
So you were just talking to me about a program you listened to. I don't know if it's a podcast or not, but it was the story of someone who does this retail crime.
Yes.
What was he saying? Oh,
he was saying that they have insurance, they have money. It's not a loss to them. That's their attitude, is to support his fentanyl habit. Yeah, he considers it a no offense. He's stealing. It's kind of like the Robin Hood syndrome in a sense.
And I know that in terms of insurance, that's a problem, because one of the business owners I've talked to said that she doesn't report it for insurance anymore, because if you get so many, then she can't get insurance.
Right, it just goes way, way up. The price is prohibitive. So what you do is you increase your prices to offset the losses you know you're going to have either on shoplifting or on vandalism or any type of crime. So and then what happens is that, one, they may close down. They'll go online, so they'll rent a warehouse, so it's way less hassle. Or number two, but if they do close down, and those of us who have traveled to U.S. cities or have seen any documentaries, death of retail is death of a city. It just becomes a void of anything, and we see that here in downtown East Side, but Detroit as an example, parts of New York, parts of LA. When you lose that retail and that vibrancy, people coming and going, seeing each other on the street, that's the beginning of the end. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Davy or Rob's or anything, but people are getting fed up, and when there's a vacancy, it's just harder and harder to rent that space, because people go, geez, I want to start a business. Well, they'll think twice. They'll go online. Far less barriers to entry than trying to open a retail location.
Hard enough being a small business person.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be, my dad used to have this expression, being in the restaurant business, you have to have Greek, crazy, or stupid. And turns out we're all three.
We're going to take a quick break and back in a moment. John, I think retail crime is misunderstood by a lot of people, and I always wonder, how did we get here? What policies in government have made things worse or have set up the situation that you've got people shooting up on your property?
Well, I think it's accumulation of things. Liberals with their catch and release, soft on crime, people need another chance. And and it sounded good from 30,000 feet. But the practicality of it is people were taking advantage of it, and the court systems didn't quite understand. So I think that's one of the big problems. I'm not sure when that happened, just call it 8 or 10 years ago. And the other is definitely safe supply. It's not working, but the government seems to double down on it. And as a result, we have what we have here today. And I think we need to go back to, I was actually listening to, again, Facebook feed, Tom Dias, the mayor of Kelowna. It's a friend of mine. And he said 15 people in Kelowna were responsible for 1,150 offenses. And they're continually out on the street.
And Mayor Krogh from Nanaimo says the same thing. Yep. And mayors are the front line in all of this, of course. So I hear politicians saying, oh, yes, we understand it, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to do something. But these are just words.
Hollow words at best. If I elicited 5 people and went to 5 different politicians' homes and threw rocks through their window, did all sorts of stuff to their home, I think we'd see some change. But because they're in this lofty paradise away from street level issues, they don't understand it. If it happened to them, they would clue in. But sadly, you're speaking to a brick wall.
And I know the police are frustrated.
Yep, yeah, indeed they are. They don't have the tools to do their job.
And if they do catch somebody and pick them up and arrest them, often no charges are laid.
None.
Or they're back out on the street the same day.
Correct. And with the drug issue, there's all sorts. Here's what I've learned in the 40 years that I've been in business. We as British Columbians think our ideas are the best. And we don't benchmark from around the world. We don't look at it. If we do, we take it and we chop it up and make it almost the idea worthless in British Columbia. And there's a great example of that in Umbria, Italy. It's called San Patriano. And San Patriano is an organization started in 1978. It's about 1,100 hectares now, and they bring people in that have drug dependency issues. The average stay is between 2 and 4 years, but here's the thing, and it's away from the problems. It's in a bucolic setting in the hill, in the countryside of Italy. But here's the thing, they teach you one of 22 different trades. So you come out with some skill, and so you're set up for success. We don't have that here at all, nothing of that level. And so, I've spoken to a lot of individuals who have a lot of money and said, we need to start something like this. And they went, yeah, interesting. And they just didn't, because they think the government can solve it all. And I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, I would feel that decriminalization and safe supply have just made an enormous and immediate impact on our streets.
Follow the money. Follow the money. Somebody did, and somebody is still. Leave aside the organized crime part of it, because that's a complicated issue, which Sam Cooper has written about extensively, and he still continues to do so. Somebody made some money somewhere along the lines, and brought up a really good argument with safe supply, and it just hasn't quite worked out as well as they had thought.
So let's talk about the effect it has, for instance, on your staff.
Oh, we have 4 women working for us, and 2 of them, if they're 5 feet and 105 pounds, and they're concerned. Absolutely, they're concerned, and we have men working there, obviously, too. But these people are in. Your workplace should be a safe place to go, earn a living, and come home, and not have to worry about what's happening out on the street or any crime. That's just not the case anymore. So we do our best to make sure our place is, a safe place. We have cameras, we have guys working on the floor. No, you can't have a single person on the floor at one time. You have to have 2 or 3 people on the floor. All that type of stuff. And yeah, they're absolutely concerned. We used to be open at till 9 o'clock at night, and we close at 7 now.
Because it gets worse.
Oh yeah, the nighttime, there's a shift. And you know what? Not saying the business is great. I don't want that extra business. I don't need that extra business. I don't need the hassle. If I have to make less money and keep my staff safe, so be it.
You were saying that one day there was somebody just lying across the entrance to your business.
Oh yeah. That doesn't happen. Once in a while it happens, and if you're respectful to them, they leave. But the point is, they shouldn't be there in the first place. How can a civil society treat people as though you can do anything you want at any time? And from a lofty perspective, I get that. But when someone is harming themselves, harming others, living on the street, and harming, that's just not a right way to have a society, at least in my opinion.
So do your customers talk to you about this?
We talk about it all the time.
And have you noticed a change in customer patterns?
Well, we keep track of customer count, and it's down. It has been down for the last couple of years. Thank God we're allowed to do online, because that really, really helps a lot. That's almost like a store within a store. People don't feel as safe and walking up and down the street. And something has to be done about it to bring the life back. I mean, think about this. You're a single woman. You're in a 600-700 square foot apartment, and you don't want to go out at night. What does that do to your psyche, your mental state? So we talk about mental health, and I get that. People with real mental issues, I get that. But if you're cooped up in a place for most of the day and most of the night, and you can't get out and walk, or you don't want to go out because you don't feel safe to get some fresh air, that's a problem. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be.
And you're on Davie Street, so you're not down in the middle of the downtown east side,
no.
So it's spreading.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's all over BC. There's a BC association that has done some stats on this, and it's a problem whether it's Victoria, it's a problem in Kamloops, it's a problem in Nanaimo.
Nanaimo, Prince George. I was speaking to the MLA out of Prince George, and there was a microbrewery there. And there was a fellow there, he burnt down one of the most popular microbrewery / pubs. He'd been in and out, I don't know how many times, call it 8, 10, 12 times. And they don't know if they're going to rebuild. So how many jobs are there? Like, I employ 15 people in a microbrewery and a pub, and I've been in the restaurant business, so he's got to employ at least 10 or 15. That's gone. So multiply that by 100 or 1,000 across British Columbia, just speaking about BC, you can see what it does to the economy and small business. So if Premier Eby is listening, get off the pot, buddy, because you're slowly killing the province.
And as you've said, if your streets die,
cities die.
The city dies.
Yeah. It's not a good scenario. We need vibrancy. We need people coming in and stopping with each other, talking to each other on the street while they're getting a coffee. Let's go for a coffee. That type of stuff. And, plant the seed and we can do the rest. But government doesn't seem to want to do that.
So in your darkest day, do you think about giving up?
In my darkest day. I'm one of those guys that, like, I play a lot of hockey, and I'm one of those
elbows up.
Elbows up, long before EB or whomever said that. And I'm one of those kind of Theo Fleury, not nearly as talented as him, but I never give up. So I know it'll get better. I'm 66 this year. Maybe when I'm 86, it'll get better. If we have a different government, we'll see.
Well, I'll come visit you when you're 86 and I'm whatever. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Carole. Appreciate it.
Back in a moment. According to the Business Improvement Association of BC, 1 in 5 business owners say they may not be financially viable if conditions don't improve. 3/4 say fear and anxiety have increased for their staff. And 61% say their operating expenses have increased because of crime and vandalism. So what's to be done? Let me know your thoughts on YouTube. Till next time, I'm Carole Taylor.